Finally got my hands on something you guys have been asking about for a long time to check out and review, and that is the Handy Gym. And among other things, you guys have been asking me to check out other flywheel type devices, and I thought this one, because it hits on so many cylinders on things I've covered and like to feature on this channel in the sense that it's low footprint, it's versatile, it's a fun thing, it is kind of like a glorified adult yo-yo basically. And the fact that you can actually combine this with other things, as I do with a lot of things I pick up and review in this channel. This thing was kind of a no-brainer as being my first flywheel device I really wanted to pick up and review on the channel. One of the reasons I was delaying getting this review out is because, like other flywheel-based devices, and I'd say other things in this kind of category, it is pretty expensive, but I did go ahead and drop the money and invest on the Elite package. They have 2 other packages on handygymfit.com. What is cool about this is that you can buy different pieces a la carte, so if you don't buy like the Elite package or some accessories you don't want, that is an option for you. And shameless plug, this is how I kind of keep the lights on and do reviews like this. If you do want to save some money on this, you can use the promo code SBT, saves you 20% off handygymfit.com. Also helps support me and the channel. Now, I'm not necessarily saying this is a complex device, but it is something I believe will deserve more than one video to do it justice, as I'm going to continue to explore its uses and play with how to manipulate just a flywheel tension. So this is really going to be kind of my first impressions video explaining what this is, going over some pros and cons, some overall coverage of what this thing does, some basic features that come with this package, and I'm gonna do so, as always, highlighting some pros and cons. So getting into it, I've already mentioned that this thing is a flywheel resistance training device that I honestly could do a 20-minute video in and of itself describing the use of a flywheel and its history, because these things have actually been around for a very long time. But basically what this does, it doesn't operate through any external resistance. You're essentially building up inertia, almost like, as they'll say many times when they describe this, like a giant yo-yo. So you create this inertia, the more you kind of pull on the flywheel, and then the more you kind of deliver the inertia, the more it's ready going to recoil and give you guys this ideal kind of eccentric overload, which is kind of deceiving because when you first kind of pull it, it does feel like it's more concentric based. But again, the more you kind of rip on it and the more you kind of pull on it, it's almost kind of like a gradual variable resistance, the more it kind of wants to recoil and kind of pull you back. And you kind of will feel that in your muscles after the first workout, especially if you're not used to doing this type of training. I normally wouldn't waste too much time covering a company's information in a review, but this one has a great motivational story about how this product came to fruition and just the challenges that the CEO, Manuel Montez, faced when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's as he was developing this product. So I definitely encourage you guys, check out that video. I'll link it down below. Otherwise, you can find it on their About Us page on their website. I also really like that video because it really showcases the versatility across demographics and who can actually take advantage of flywheel technology. Because if you do look at these types of devices, sometimes you see these things used in elite level athletes all the way down into rehabilitative settings. So really all walks of life can really benefit from something like this. Handy Gym is based out of Spain, and I was surprised how fast it actually took to get to America once it was shipped. As you're gonna see the unboxing here, it comes with a lot of goodies. But inside that backpack, you have the base machine, you have the 3 different level discs of the yellow, blue, and red discs. You got a double pulley, a door anchor, loop strap, 2 multi-purpose handles, an ankle strap, 2 wall mounting plates, a rack mounting plate, a squat belt, a platform to get the elite level package, and then a drawstring bag, including with the backpack. Okay, first just going over the basic features of the Handy Gym. I'll first just start up here. This is where you could attach the main handle or detach the handles to, say, attach it to the board or the wall mount or the squat rack mount here with these little versatile clips. These things can eventually go onto really any surface if you guys want to. But it kind of squeeze these 2 points together and you can work it out. Now I will say actually this handle is a decent handle. It is, which is important because you're doing a lot of action up here. Very solid rubber and feels very sturdy. So this feels like pretty good as far as the construction is concerned. Working your way down here, you can see this is where the discs are housed. This is a newer model. The other model had I think an Allen wrench based system where you had different screws, but this one you would screw off this. I kind of like this because this can be a mechanism to kind of wind up the cable. Otherwise you could wind it up here. Now this is something that when I first got it, I was very frustrated and I thought this thing was broken or something because I expected this thing to kind of pop right off. And I was trying all sorts of things. I tried this thing and I realized this goes to the old system, so I don't know why they even include this little wrench here. Obviously that is not gonna go to any kind of screw. So I could not get this thing off. I was prying it for the life of me. It didn't seem like it was moving. Now it's actually moving a little bit more. So what I do is I kind of turn it kind of pry it a little bit like this. Now you could just grab probably this thing and snap it that way. I just think it's probably not a good idea to do that, but you just kind of work it a little bit, and then you can just take the discs off. These discs are very light. I mean, the difference in how heavy they are is pretty minuscule, and then you can swap a different disc in there, and it's ready to go. To me, the blue one seems like the stiffest one, and it might have been, I don't know, like I said, it's just a little tight in there. Maybe after a little, maneuvering, this thing will be adjusted. Notice it says made in Europe. I think all these parts are made in Spain. Don't, confirm that, but I think it is, which is actually kind of cool. It's not just, made in China like everything. And then all you do is just screw this on like that. And then from here, this is where the actual, the action is happening. So this is kind of a little protector point just from the machine and the rope, but you would essentially just kind of pull it. You feel that kind of inertia and the click like a yo-yo. So I made the rope kind of small at first, but if it's wound up all the way or wound out all the way, again, if you want to just turn it in, you can see I made a mistake there, didn't tighten it too much. I can just start winding it in, or I can go that way. And then what they recommend you do is in a given exercise, you would pull this all the way out or find the distance you want. So that's full slack or it's fully let out there. And then I would just use this to kind of regulate how much rope tension I want. So I just unclasp it, and then I can pull out more or less rope like that for how much I need. This I wish was better. You got a lot of extra rope to play with, but I wish there was a better way of kind of storing this. Maybe in the future I'll find a better solution, but then once you find the length you want, you just kind of lock it in. So now I'm just gonna put this thing on the board, and I'm gonna show you also how this would connect, but also how to use this pulley, which is kind of weird, but just putting this pulley on can actually really ramp up the intensity and strength. Now I think I'm doing this right. They want you to put this in there as like a secondary kind of safety measure for the cable. So you could go ahead and do board stuff just like this, but I'm gonna add the pulley onto here and show you this, how you would latch that on. So all I'm gonna do is attach this here, which by the way, if you weren't using the board, all you do is attach this right there and then put this pulley on, but we're gonna attach this right here. Also as an extra safety measure, I think you put that on there as well. Then we're gonna go ahead and take this off, put this pulley on right there. And now you're good to go with some extra intensities. And then to show you off when it's disconnected, how the pulley adds tension. I think you still want this here. It might have been a mistake when it was on there, but this is how you would attach it if you wanted to use the basic kind of loop that it comes with, or the basic handle that it comes with. All right, now this is what it would look like. So it is kind of weird how much more resistance this thing actually gives you, but it does, so that's actually really cool. I've only really played around with this a handful of times in some upper and lower body workouts, and then off workouts, just messing around with it. But you gotta be careful with this thing. Do not let it fool you, because if you're not used to flywheel technology like I wasn't, and just the stress it delivers, it does kind of rip you up. You can kind of go as soft and light as you want. Like I said, that's the beauty of it, is that you can kind of dial in the tension literally in mid-set, which is great. And the first thing I did is I wanted to see like, well, how hard are the red discs are? And I threw that in there. It is very hard, but then when you actually start adding the pulley, which doesn't seem like this would do much, as you guys can see in the screen, this thing can get up to 220 pounds. And I would say it's really a different type of resistance. But I will say, just kind of messing around with like my arms, my biceps specifically, just messing around with it really did kind of put that eccentric overload on my biceps. So it's kind of hard right now incorporating this on top of my training without overdoing it, is what I'm trying to say. What I do know is that if I was left to just using this thing, I kept thinking about that, and that's the reason I kind of pulled the trigger on this review, is that when I saw some more videos and kind of seeing what was possible with this is one of those things that I know I'd have a great time if I was like, say, going on vacation, or if someone just said, hey, just use this for like 2 months, I would just be ripping into this thing, no question about it. So it is deceiving, and while you might say, well, 220, maybe that's not that much, I would say it's a different type of stimulus that is ideal for adding on top of your already pre-existing training. Honestly, the yellow discs, for me at least, are challenging enough. I don't feel like I really need to go to red discs, and you guys can counterbalance and use different discs if you guys want to. The discs don't feel that different. It just goes into the whole inertia technology. Not to mention when you start adding this pulley, what different damage you guys can do with it. Some initial pros and cons that I have with this thing is, first, I'll get to the pros. The big pro with this thing is I was kind of on the fence before I even pulled the trigger with this, because I'm like, maybe I want to try one of those bigger flywheel boxes that are out there. Again, they're a lot more expensive. But this, I honestly feel, like, I haven't used those yet. I'm really surprised how this little device really does replicate the feeling and versatility you can get, I'd assume, out of those bigger boxes, because I'm already pretty much challenged enough just using the red discs and blue discs with things like the belt squats on top of, say, after a leg session. So it's already kind of like a post-exhaust, or you can use it like a pre-exhaust. But it's honestly, so far it's challenging enough. So I'd say in a small package, obviously the versatility, the fact that it's portable, that's certainly a great thing. Also the fact that you get to play with flywheel technology in a more condensed package and not investing in a giant box, which I'm not saying those things aren't versatile in their own right, but the fact that I can mount this, say, onto a squat rack, or even using their double loop onto, say, a lead pipe for like a barbell. Not to mention, I'm sure I'm gonna use this on my total gym here in a second. That's pretty cool, of the things I can do with this flywheel. So getting into the cons, I don't want to sugarcoat this. The biggest one, I think, that probably is going to be apparent to everybody right off the bat is going to be the noise. And apparently this thing is quieter than the original version. If you're kind of doing a low pull, it's not that loud. It's when you really kind of crank on it that you start hearing that to get, ramp up in sound, which is going to be a problem. Let's say you want to travel, you're working on a hotel room, or you got a family member in the house, you want to work out, it's kind of quiet. It's not so loud it's gonna like wake up the neighbors, I don't think, but it's loud enough where someone in the room is probably gonna be annoyed with this thing. And if you bring it to a park, people are gonna wonder what the heck you're doing, like you're jump starting some sort of a motor. One of the biggest functional cons that I really don't like, that I wish they'd improve, is just this kind of cord and getting this cord management system down. I mean, I gotta kind of figure out a better way with this. It's not bad if you are rigging up certain exercises and getting the cord out of the way, but if you want a quick change between exercises, this can be a little annoying, trying to find a good solution to that. So there's gotta be an easier way for them to kind of do some sort of cord management system. And even this rope regulator isn't bad, but I think there's probably a better way of doing this versus these kind of hard clips. Again, it's not that bad. And this is a newer model that has these little screws. Originally they had these, I think it was like a hex bolt or something like that. That's what this little key was for. But yet they still have this little hex key on here, even though there's no need for it. So I think this is kind of weird, unless they want to give you that option to actually put a kind of a hex screw in there, which I'm sure you can go to the hardware store and get a screw like that if you guys wanted to. And I actually might consider doing that. I don't know, but I actually do like using this to crank up the flywheel. So that's honestly not too bad either. I do love all the features. I think that's one of the benefits of this Elite package. This board is a little expensive if you buy it by itself, but I think the board is gonna be something you're gonna want. Granted, you definitely can just stand on the bigger loop or a single loop and do some things with it, or I'm sure you could rig it a certain way to a flat board. But one thing I wish they had would be their own bar. So I showed you guys, you can rig a pipe or some sort of bar with one of their straps a number of different ways, but I do wish they made their own accessory for a bar that would just kind of go along with the system. I think that would be a good thing, because it is now for the most part a unilateral device, and this thing gives off enough strength and tension that I think it definitely deserves having a barbell to go along with it. I mentioned before, getting the discs out is not the easiest thing, so that's something that maybe with overall kind of wear and tear, they might be easier. Not a huge deal, but that's one minor point. And then finally, an inherent learning curve of not just this, but any flywheel-based device is going to be some sort of a learning curve. And I think that's kind of the fun of it. This is certainly new territory for me, learning to kind of dissipate that weight and get that ebb and flow with a given exercise. So that is cool, but I can understand for some people it might take a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Not to mention the basic features of this thing will probably take a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. But I do think their material online is adequate if you guys are looking for simple solutions and saying how to set up accessories and how to basically use this. But that's where hopefully I'll be coming in on sharing you guys my updated thoughts, some unique uses and ways you can take advantage of this and how I'm gonna take advantage of it. This is gonna be just one of those tools in the toolbox. So I'm excited to kind of get my feet wet with flywheel stuff. If anything does change or any issues with this, I'll definitely pin a comment down below. Again, if you guys want to save money on a handy gym and pick it up either now or in the future, you can use promo code SBT, saves you guys 20% off their website, handygymfit.com. Any questions, comments, feedback, let me know, especially if you guys own a handy gym. Definitely let me know, and I'll see you guys on the next video.